Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, Greg Majeski, your personal weatherman, bringing you the weather out of all that social media hype here on your Tuesday, October 29th, 2024. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's tracking here for our forecast as we're looking at a tornado risk that's coming, especially for tomorrow. We'll show you the areas that could be potentially impacted for tomorrow. We're still talking about potential for a tropical depression forming, although, again, the models are still inconclusive. We'll show you the latest on that right now, and we'll take a look at the big part of November to see how it's trending as we're getting, getting closer to the holiday season. We'll see how that's working out for us as well. Now, first I want to thank all the new subscribers to the channel, and if you haven't yet subscribed, hey, please consider it. I'd love to be part of your YouTube weather feed. If you could, just go ahead and please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content, and give me a thumbs up. Let me know what you think about the product. Leave me a comment down below. I really do appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and start out by taking a look at our satellite imagery here on your Tuesday morning as we've got a storm system back here in the intermountain region. And as this thing pulls on out, we're going to see the classic clash of the air masses as we're going to have warm air out ahead of it, cold air dive behind it, and definitely going to see a great amount of wind shear. That's changing winds with height. So we're going to be looking for some severe weather in this portion of the country as we go in throughout the day tomorrow. We'll show you the specifics on that here in just a second. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of snow out there across portions of Wyoming. Got winter weather advisories out here right now, stretching back toward Utah. Some rainy weather there into Colorado. We'll show the local radar there in a second. Pretty good cluster of rains there in southern Canada. Might encroach into portions of New York State a little bit later today, but definitely looking pretty quiet here across the southeast. Very warm. Look at these temperatures. Morning lows. I mean, we're talking getting into early November. We got 60s to start your morning here in Iowa. So it just tells you how warm and mild it is out ahead of the storm system as this thing pulls on out. All right, let's look at your current watches and warnings out there. We've got numerous winter weather advisories out here for the higher mountains in Utah, into Wyoming, and into Colorado. We got the red flag warnings, this dry conditions, very breezy out of that storm system as this thing begins to exit. And again, this will be the area where we're probably going to see some tornado watches going up for tomorrow for this portion of the country as we go throughout the day. Let's go check out that local radar again. We're over into Colorado. This is western Colorado here. Grand Junction, seeing the rains here streaming in from south. A few rumbles of thunder with this as well for this morning. We'll see a few lightning strikes here and there coming in through Delta, Montrose, and some wet roads there in Glenwood Springs, Colorado as well. In fact, that's our weather city of the day. Look at this, a little wet and rainy there in Glenwood Springs here for today. It's going to be kind of cool, kind of damp and rainy. We'll see a high temperature there of about 46 degrees. And hey, if you'd like to nominate your city as the weather city of the day, you got a good webcam in your area or perhaps on YouTube, please just take that link, post it down below, and we'll consider it for a future broadcast. All right, let's go take a look at the latest from the Storms Prediction Center as we're going to see what their day one outlook here for your Tuesday and see how this system is going to materialize here as we're looking at your day one here. And again, this is the marginal risk. This is going to be late today, the way things are currently looking out there for right now, as we're going to see the system slowly begin to pull on out here for that area. So let me get my highlighter up here real quick. Forgot to open that, so that's on me. So you can see that green right through there. That's what we're looking at right through there, and that's where we're going to be seeing that marginal risk. We're basically going to be dealing with some very gusty winds. That's going to be the big ticket here. That's going into tomorrow morning. I think that's when those storms will really start to fire. Then as we go into your day two, that's when things get a little more interesting here. You see in the yellow here for that severe weather there from yellow. We're talking Missouri, we're talking areas into Kansas, in Oklahoma, and into portions of northern Texas. Now let's break it down by the categories here. We'll look at the tornado risk here. We got a tremendous amount of wind shear in here, so we know we're going to be dealing with that. Right now, that's running about 5%. That's that brown area there across Kansas and Oklahoma. So we know the chasers will be out in force in that area. It's surrounded by that green. That's a 2% risk for potential tornadoes there for your Wednesday. The hail threat, that'll be the highest, obviously, there in the yellow where that slight risk is, running about 15%. And the wind threat also generally holding in the same area as well. So that is going to be for your day two outlook going into Wednesday. Your day three outlook, well, that'll begin to shift off toward the east, but weaken substantially, just a marginal risk there. And that'll be areas down along the Gulf Coast. We'll be watching for the potential for some active severe weather there from Mississippi into Louisiana right through there. That'll be the zone. And unfortunately, areas in Alabama and Georgia, this thing's going to really fall apart. You're not going to get much rain out of that, folks, unfortunately, for that portion of the country. Now, once this system goes by, we got another system that's going to be coming in heading toward next week. So the concern is going to be in the middle of the country because the fact that they may be looking at some heavy rains falling over there. And those rainfall amounts look to be pretty decent. So we do have a little bit of a flooding risk or heavy rain risk here running from Illinois, stretching back into toward Texas. So that's going to be the hazards outlook going from day 3 through 7. As we got 2 different rounds of rain. What's coming in here going into to later today and into tomorrow, and then again heading into the next week. And I'll show you the model data on that to kind of back that up with that look out there. Now, as far as the tropics concerned, we're still tracking that area in the Southern Caribbean. It feels like we've been talking about this for over a week now. Still waiting for something to develop. Right now, the latest from the National Hurricane Center is still putting out about a 40% chance of seeing something development in that area. Now, as we look at the latest satellite imagery, it doesn't look all that impressive out there on your Tuesday morning when we were recording this. So just seeing just a few thunderstorms down here, but really not that much right now. But that's a forecast to increase as the pressures fall on that region. And then there's some uncertainty there with the high pressure ridge off the southeastern coast. Does this thing kick on out to sea? Does it get into the Gulf? Really a lot of uncertainty there. So we're going to have to just stay tuned. My rule of thumb on something like this is we just basically have to wait until we get something to form and for the models to kind of lock in on. So this is what the ESENS Ensemble model is doing. It is, in fact, trying to develop something there, and it's still favoring a solution that kind of brings it into the Gulf. The American GFS was kind of going like this, and then this one's trying to bring it back this way. So again, wait until we get an actual depression or something to form, and then we'll get an idea if this thing's going to track into the Gulf or is it going to kick on out to sea. So stay tuned for further updates. We'll keep you updated. Again, we're kind of getting November. Getting November hurricanes are kind of tough, but not improbable. But I just don't think it's going to be too big of a deal. We'll watch that for the folks on the Gulf Coast. So let's go ahead and talk about the model data here. We'll first take a look at the European model. Again, this is my preferred model as we're seeing high pressure. That's what that yellow is. That's higher pressure there. Blue is when it starts to fall off, and we see something kind of tracking in out of the Atlantic, and then maybe merging with some of that energy expected to the south. And then right toward the end of this run, and this is getting toward the 8th, this is 10 days out, European not developing anything out here until we get beyond the 7 days. So it's not showing anything like the National Hurricane Center is expecting the next 7 days. We'll see how that verifies out or not. Now, I will say this, the aggressiveness of the American GFS model has backed off. That's some good news there as well. It's also showing a trend here over the next few days. But as we go into going into the Saturday, the pressures are noticeably lower here. They'll got all that blue in here as we're watching to see if anything's going to actually finally develop in this zone. But anything that develops looks like it's very weak, and it's kind of sporadic. It's kind of showing it all over the place. Look at this as we go into Tuesday next week. You're seeing something over here. You're seeing something over here. They're both pretty much on the weak side here. I'm only going to take this out 10 days because I really don't like going beyond that. But you see a couple of areas there tracking going into Thursday next week. So we'll take this on out to 10 days right about there. Still showing a couple areas. You got one zone there north, right near the Bahamas, and then you got another one out here still sitting out in the Caribbean, possible depression there. So again, anything that develops is going to be slow. That's number one. And number two, it's going to be a bit on the weak side. So that's what we're looking right now in the tropics. We're not done with the hurricane season yet. We got one more month to go, but right now, nothing imminent. Not looking at patty forming just yet. We'll see how it evolves as we go into later this week, into this weekend especially, and into early next week. So we'll keep you updated there. Let's go switch over, take a look at the jet stream right now. That's that river air that drives all the systems across the country. It is our conveyor belt, and it's getting more active. We're looking at a lot more troughs and ridges kind of forming in here. And we definitely got this pronounced trough here coming in out of the west. That's what's going to set out that active weather here as we're expected to the day tomorrow. As we go ahead and track this thing out here throughout the day and take it into tomorrow morning. We'll kind of stop it right about there. You got a pretty good trough here ejecting out into the plains. And what we're seeing is a lot of wind shear in here, okay? So that battle zone that we showed you there across Kansas into areas of northern Texas, they got a lot of wind shear. That's where the winds are going to be kind of changing with height as they go up here throughout the day on your Wednesday. So as we get late in the day, we'll see how this thing fires up. Again, the temperatures are going to be running well above normal there as we've got that colder clash of air kind of diving into this, again, undercutting that warmer air and lifting it up and giving us those thunderstorms as we go throughout the day on Wednesday. Now, this will begin to move off toward the east, and obviously, as we showed you, will be weakening. And then as we go into this upcoming weekend, I'll stop it there on Friday. Notice we get a lot more zonal flow here. So we got kind of a west-east, kind of quick-moving flow there. So no major storm systems going into this weekend as we go into Friday and Saturday. But there is another trough here going into Saturday coming in off the west coast. So this is going to another one's going to bury itself down into the southwestern portion of the United States. There's that big trough digging out again, which means once again, once this thing ejects on out of the Rockies again, we'll be watching next week. Once again, similar locations here as we're looking like a bit of a, looks like a bit of a cutoff low here. Again, you got the jet stream screaming out of this. We got high pressure here. That's why the southeast is not expecting much in the way of rainfall because of that ridge that's in place that's expected to be there. But I think we could see another round of active weather going into Tuesday of next week in the plane. This one, again, looks pretty dynamic right there, there across the middle of the country. So as we go throughout the day on Tuesday, we'll be watching areas right through this zone once again to see the potential for some active weather and again some isolated tornadoes not out of the question. November is traditionally our second severe weather season, not usually as robust as the spring season, but this is not unusual to see something like this. And this kind of moves on out, and then another big cutoff low kind of kicks off there again toward the end of the 10-day here, down here across the Four Corners region. That big high that's been kind of sitting across the southeast begins to finally shift on out, begin to move on out. That may allow some rain to finally get into areas of the southeast that desperately need it. But we got to get a pattern shift here, folks. And traditionally, I think we'll probably get one a little bit later in the month of November. But right now, it's been favoring the west, getting the most of active weather with the colder, below normal temperatures, as well as where the active track's going to be. And that means the middle of the country is going to continue to remain a little bit under the gun. All right, let's go and take a look at the precipitation maps here. So we're going to take a look at this. Again, we got that one system coming out here throughout the day on Wednesday. Here comes our thunderstorms as we look throughout the day. It doesn't look all that crazy here on the European model, but that's the zone we'll be watching for the potential for thunderstorms. Got another system coming out here on the west coast as well during that time, late in the day on your Wednesday. So as we go ahead and progress this forward, again, you see the rains trailing behind the system going in toward Thursday morning. We'll see some rain and thunderstorm from Chicago, kind of exiting Dallas at that time, going into Thursday morning. And again, with this big ridging here across the southeast, that's just not going to allow that system to drop any precipitation for areas like Atlanta that need it. Look at that precipitation, just kind of falls right apart as it drives into the southeast. Got that storm system there out on the west coast. We'll be watching this one. This will be the one that will be tracking and exiting out into the Rockies. Again, that's that second system before another severe weather risk going into the following week, going into that following Tuesday. As this kind of ejects on out, you notice the rains here on Saturday before that system even ejects out. Here's the upper level low back here toward California, and it'll start to move on out. As it does so, we'll see, again, warm out ahead of it. We'll form some thunderstorms. Boom, there goes Tuesday morning. We're getting those thunderstorms again across generally from Missouri back toward Texas. Very similar to what we're seeing here for your Wednesday with that system. And then this will begin to push on off toward the east with a cold front and low pressure going up into the Great Lakes. And that frontal system moves on to the south there a little bit. And we kind of got you got a little cold pocket here, kind of lingering back here a little bit and seeing the rains there across Texas and parts of the mid-south. Still not quite getting in Alabama and to Georgia yet, but once that tight pressure begins to break down, I think eventually as we head toward the middle of the month, areas that have been looking for rain may get some here in later in the month of November. All right, let's talk about those rainfall totals. Let's go ahead and talk about this. Again, we got several rounds of it. We got the storm system moving out on your Tuesday going into Wednesday, and here comes those thunderstorms, rains there going into Thursday, and then kind of pulling out in the plain. So this is our round number one here going to Wednesday and Thursday. You've seen areas there from Wisconsin back toward Missouri, Kansas, and into Arkansas, getting some much needed rains. Again, we've been dealing with some drought conditions in this portion of the country as well, and we'll have an update on that drought update coming your way on Thursday, by the way, as we'll get that a little bit later. All right, so that's round number one. But notice here that rain, I can't quite make it with these Alabama, the Carolinas, this whole area down here staying very much on the dry side. Thanks to that ridge. We got some more rain down here on the west coast as well. That's where that next storm system pulling on in and out there. And we'll take this all the way out again as that next round of rain comes on in. It really picks up there. Again, remember that climate outlook 3 to 7 days was showing kind of a bullseye for flooding. And we got some pretty significant rains there across portions of Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, with those two big heavy rounds of rain coming in out there. But staying dry in the southeast, but definitely going to be beating back some of those drought conditions across at least the middle of the country as we go through the next 10 days. Let's look at the temperature anomaly map here. Again, the big story here is going to continue to be those above normal temperatures across a big portion of the country, except for the west, obviously, going in toward Wednesday morning. You can clearly see, look at these areas out here, the green, blues, you're looking at 850 millibars. It's about 5,000 feet. That's where we kind of can track the differences of the air masses a little bit better. Very warm here across the Great Lakes and into New England. Out ahead of that, we got the big high pressure here, and you got the flow coming around that, out ahead of that storm system that's going to be feeding those thunderstorms on your Wednesday. And again, as that system pushes east, we'll break down, we'll bring some cool air across portions of the Great Lakes going into your Friday. You're noticing it there, but still holding on with those below normal temperatures out here in the west, from Washington down into the southwest, for sure, heading into your Fridays, going into the new month, going into November. Let's go through the weekend here. Again, continue to watch that time trap. Get a little cool off there going into Saturday morning, or briefly across the northeast. But we got a big high here, still kind of holding on here across the east. And look how much of the country here is dealing with this red. That's your above normal temperatures, except for the areas that there on the west coast. And as we watch that next storm system that's going to bury itself there into the southwest, it kind of moves into the Intermountain region going in toward Tuesday. We'll get that clash of air masses once again, the battleground setting up right through there as that cold air bumps into that very warm air. Look at very mild conditions across the Great Lakes once again, going in toward your Tuesday. And then this kind of moves on off, and then it looks like we finally start breaking down at least a little bit of this cool air. We get a little more cool air going in toward Thursday next week, going toward November 7th there across the high plains, even going into New England there. Very, very chilly here across the Intermountain region here, especially for areas of Colorado and New Mexico. It's a pretty cold air mass sitting right up in there as we go toward the 7th of November. All right, let's go ahead and check out the climate outlook, the latest from the climate outlook. We'll see how that lines up with our model data here. We'll check that out here as we're looking at your 6 to 10 day outlook here. As again, as shown, we're going to see a lot of below normal temperatures in the west, very warm and mild here in the east. But with these battle zones setting up, that's going to be in the middle of the country. That's where we're going to see, obviously, the chance for some more rain. As we look out to the 5th to the 11th, we'll see if this changes a little bit, because the 10-day was still holding on to some pretty cold air there. This should begin to modify as we head toward the 11th, heading toward Veterans Day, but still very mild here in the eastern half of the United States. With that battleground setting up, obviously that's where the precipitation is going to be very high, and some very heavy rains expected across the areas of Kansas into Missouri, down toward Arkansas, obviously Texas and Oklahoma. So we're going to be beating back the very dry conditions and drought conditions here that are kind of inundating the middle portion of the country, at least a little bit. Southeast, unfortunately, going to continue to stay pretty much on the dry side, I think, here, at least until we get to the middle of the month, I think, there. And your 8 to 14 day, again, general precipitation returns to maybe slightly above average. I don't know about the southeast just yet. We'll see. And then, again, here across the middle of the country, a little drier across the northern tier and stretching back over toward California. And stretching out for the rest of the month of November, above normal temperatures expected across the southern tier, kind of looking at equal chance of below or above normal there across most of the country. About a 50-50 split looks like here as we head toward the 22nd. That's about a week before Thanksgiving. Remember Thanksgiving is very, very late this year. We're looking about the 28th, so it's the latest it can start this season. And then below normal precipitation across the southeast. So that looks like that trend will continue. We'll see if that holds true there, and then staying pretty active there across the Pacific Northwest, but generally looking at equal chances there of below normal precipitation or above for a big portion of the country. All right, so that's your update here for now. I am planning on, if it warrants it, to be doing some severe weather coverage here for tomorrow, and if you'd like to be involved in that and you'd like to be alerted on that, if you've not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content, and join us here on the Weather Nerds channel as we'll be watching that potential for some active severe weather here for tomorrow. And of course, I'll have your daily update tomorrow morning as we'll kind of outline what's going to happen here throughout the day across the middle portion of the country. All right, that's going to do it for now. Again, if you haven't yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate it. Kind of helps the YouTube algorithm out a little bit, and I do appreciate your support of the channel. All right, that's it for now. You guys take it easy. Be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.